I'm going to preview the Baylor versus UCLA women's basketball game. And UCLA, I will presume they will be number one in the country, but we'll see on the poll when it comes out. And I'm pre-recording this ahead of time. That way, I could just instantly upload it immediately because the game will be played January 20th, the day of the AP poll comes out at 2 p.m. Central Time on Fox. And I'm going to go over both the records for both of these teams first before diving into what are some players to keep an eye on for UCLA. UCLA is unbeaten, 17-0. They literally only had like one game all year long within single digits. And that was game number 1 against Louisville. The second closest wins were like by 11 points in the conference against Indiana, and Washington. So they've not been close to say the least, like 10 points or more majority of the time, if not like 12 points or more. So they did have a game postponed against Northwestern, but they would have beat Northwestern if that game was played. And I don't blame Northwestern not traveling because of the fire situation in Los Angeles. And I'm sending my thoughts and prayers for those California fires and those people that are getting affected by it. I really am. It's just tough to see. So they're 17-0. Obviously, they're unbeaten in the Big Ten as well. At 6-0. Now Baylor, on the other hand, the 16-3 overall, with the most recent win against Houston, and that's a Houston team that beat Oklahoma State barely, but they were up by like over 20 points in that game before Oklahoma State rallying back. But that's besides the point. That was a team that Baylor last lost to was Oklahoma State. It was not even close. But their quarter cost Baylor a game. So they've been on a 5-game winning streak going into this game right here. And Baylor 6-1 in the Big 12 with a lone loss against Oklahoma State. So now this game, I apologize if I'm looking now because I cannot memorize all this stuff. It's going to be played in New Jersey. Yeah, it's a neutral site. It's not at UCLA. It's not in Waco at the Foster Pavilion. It's a Prudential Center, part of the Coretta Scott King Classic, and it's like a doubleheader type of deal. 2 games on Martin Luther King Day. So, okay. And I will say, UCLA has a lot of players that average 6.9 points per game or more up front. And it's not including, it also includes 3 players in double figures. So, now, what are some players to keep an eye on? Obviously, Lauren Betts is number 1 on the list. Number 51, 6'7" center that is a junior. 19.7 points per game. 42 for 73 on free throws, which is 57.5%. 9.9 rebounds per game, so nearly a double-double every game. 2.5 assists per game. 2.5 turnovers per game. 1.1 steals per game. 2.4 blocks per game. 1.6 fouls per game. She will be a WNBA draft pick either this year, if she does declare, because she will turn 22 this year. I know it's later on down the road. Or she's going to come back for her senior year and be a WNBA pick a year later. So she's the number 1 target, as you could tell. Now, Kiki Rice, number 1. 5'11" guard, that's a junior. 12.8 points per game. 11 for 33 on threes. 81.3% on free throws on 32 attempts. 3.5 rebounds per game. 4.1 assists per game. 1.5 turnovers per game, 1.6 steals per game, 1.2 fouls per game. This Gabriela Jaquez, number 11, 6-foot guard as a junior, 10.3 points per game, 32.4% on threes on 37 attempts, 17 for 20 on free throws, 5.1 rebounds per game, 2.6 assists per game, 0.9 turnovers per game, 2 fouls per game. This Janiah Barker, number 0, 6'4" forward, that's a junior, 9.2 points per game, 19.2% on threes on 26 attempts, 65.1% on free throws on 43 attempts, 6.9 rebounds per game, 2.9 turnovers per game, 1 steal per game, 2.6 fouls per game. There's Tamia Gardner, number 30, 6'3" forward, that's a junior, 9.2 points per game, 43.7% from the 3-point line on 71 attempts, 93.3% on free throws on 15 attempts, 3.9 rebounds per game, 1.1 turnovers per game, 1.3 fouls per game. Angela Dugalic, number 32, 6'4" forward, that's a senior, 9.1 points per game, 36.4% on threes on 33 attempts, 88.2% on free throws on 17 attempts, 6.6 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, 1.1 turnovers per game, 1.9 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, 2.2 fouls per game. London Jones, number 3, 5'4" guard, that's a junior, 7.9 points per game, 34.4% on threes on 93 attempts, 18 for 24 on free throws, 2.2 assists per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 0.9 steals per game, 1.6 fouls per game. And the last player that's like 6.9 points per game or more is Elena Arsenello. I apologize if I butchered that, and I'm going to spell it out. Arnisalo. Number 7, 5'10" guard. That's a freshman. 6.9 points per game, 11 for 33 on threes. 81.8% on free throws on 11 attempts. 2.9 rebounds per game. 4.8 assists per game. 2.5 turnovers per game. 0.9 steals per game. 1.6 fouls per game. And I'm going to just mention one more player. After that, y'all can check out in the description below on the stats. And that's Kendall Dudley. Number 22, 6'2" forward. That's a freshman, 2.6 points per game. 0 for 7 on threes. 27.3% on free throws on 11 attempts. 2.8 rebounds per game. 0.6 turnovers per game. 1.3 fouls per game. And I'm going to mention this up front. Baylor has nothing to lose in this game. They're going to be at least receiving votes, by the way, if not potentially ranked. Because they did defeat Utah, and I know Utah was down. Kenny McQueen for the game. That's a double-digit score and a starter. But Baylor was down. Darren Little Page Bugs due to a suspension and that incident against Arizona State. I don't need to rehash that. And it's very questionable to say the least. Yeah, and they were also down Madison Barley, and that's another thing to mention is I do not know the stats of Madison Barley going into this game. She's not played in the last 2 games here. Last few here. It's a day-to-day undisclosed injury. She was not on the bench for the last 2 games. So, I don't know what's going on. I'm just calling it undisclosed. Until we know something official. Just want to make that up front. And you got to keep your cool in this game. You don't want to have that incident like you had a few games ago against Arizona State. Obviously. You can't be intimidated by them either. But if they want to lose their cool, they could go right ahead. Just don't react to it. And especially during on Little Page Bugs, because it's involved in that again. She's done for the year. That's the rule. So, I'm just letting you all know. It's a real thing. And whatever you did right last game, you got to bring into this game. And whatever you did wrong last game, you got to correct for this game. And I'm talking specifically about the turnovers and the 3-point shooting. You can't do that against UCLA. Not as many. Unless you force UCLA to go cold for the game and force a lot of turnovers on their end. So I'm just saying. And you gotta limit your foul trouble. And Aaron Volney, luckily, has played against Lauren Betts before. So that's not going to be an issue with the experience against a player like that. But she needs to stay in the game. And don't get too quick fouls like she did against Houston. I want her to be aggressive, but you got to be smart. And if you're in that situation on a second foul against Houston, she just should have went straight up on the defending. But you get the point here. You got to be smart with the foul trouble. You got to come out with energy. You can play with your hair on fire for this game. Like I said, you have nothing to lose. And this does not impact your goals for the conference for both of these teams, obviously. I know. And I know UCLA wants to continue their unbeaten streak since that LSU loss in the NCAA tournament. So, and that was in the Sweet 16, by the way. So I'm just letting y'all know about the history there. And you got to make adjustments on the fly against UCLA. I'm not just talking about half to half, quarter to quarter, but during those quarters. Like timeout to time, media break to media break, possession by possession. And some of the stuff that you did wrong last game, you cannot bring into this game, obviously. That's why I said you got to correct it. You got to clean better. I mean, you got to out-hustle UCLA in this game. You got to. You got to come out with some on fire and energy, and obviously you want to start strong in this game and show that UCLA, we're not backing down, and show UCLA we're not backing down to you. I don't care you're unbeaten or not or number one in the country. We don't care. We're going to make it interesting. Now, defensively, I know Lauren Betts is going to get hers, scoring-wise, but make it as difficult as possible. And especially if they're going to try to throw the ball down to her. You got to make those passes hard to catch. And don't let her get to her position. And you need a rebound in this game. And thank goodness Darren Page Buggs is available for the game. Because she needs that really would help. You got to box out. And especially you got to limit Lauren Betts on the offensive glass. You know, you got to limit the points in the paint some. You don't want to give them some open looks either from the three-point line. You can't let them live at the free throw line. You got to force some turnovers, create havoc, make them go down on the shot clock and have to make a really hard shot. I mean, if nothing else. You got to limit the points on turnovers. You got to limit the, like I said, like points in the paint, like free throw line, fast break points. Yeah, you got to limit that. I mean, you don't want them to get on a roll. So, and obviously, if you could try to like create some havoc for them offensively, that could really help your chances in this game. And I don't care about the officiating across the board. It may be questionable at times, but you got to get over it and make plays to win. That's what I'm saying right here. Now, offensively, you got to take care of the ball. Get good shot selection. And we got to make more threes than last game. That's a definite. And some of it's shot selection, but some of it, you got to make some open shots in the game. You got to get like some points in the paint, whether it's like a paint drive or dumping off to somebody down low or straight up post up. I mean, I'm just saying, in this type of game right here, you got to get some fast break points because sometimes you're off. The best way to score is through fast break, and even points on turn. You gotta get some points on turnovers in this game. You got to, and make UCLA suffer for every turnover you score, and obviously you need to get to the free throw line some and make your free throws count. In a game like this, that could very well determine who wins or loses potentially. I'm not saying that this game is going to be close or it's going to be a blowout. By the way, I'm just saying in general in games, it does make a difference when you make free throws when in a game like this. I mean, and you could have to make some mid-range shots, and you gotta. And another thing across the board, a few things right here. You gotta be good in late game situations, late clock situations, whether it's shot clock or game clock. You gotta be ball tough in this. In this game offensively, especially if you're up late, and they try to foul, protect the ball, and they're gonna foul. You gotta be good underneath your own basket offensively, scoring wise, or side out of bounds. Same thing goes for defense, especially in those late game situations. Or you need a foul just to extend the game, type of deal. And you really need to get a good start in the game, possibly. And thank goodness this game's not at UCLA. And I know UCLA's going to be thankful it's not at Foster Pavilion either. So really, there's no home court advantage. And another thing across the board, for those UCLA fans that are going to be at the game, take them out of it as much as possible. While getting the fans that are really there, for Baylor side of things, get them fired up. And regardless whatever happens here, you're going to learn from this game in order to prepare for teams like Kansas State that you only play one time. Even like TCU twice. And what's ironic is Baylor plays TCU right after this game at TCU. So you're going to get prepared for TCU. This is kind of like where are we at when compared to the best of best? And you got to give out a good full out effort as much as possible here. If you could get Lauren Betts in foul trouble, that would really be helpful. Or try to speed them up so much that it's a track back and forth. That Lauren Betts is trying to get back on defense sometimes. That just try to wear her out physically. And I'm gonna just mention that your bench needs to step up. And obviously you want to limit UCLA's bench as much as possible. But I know they have a lot of balance. One dominant scorer, then two other double-digit scores. You kind of need to take away the shooters away from the game too. But at the same time, you don't want to give up so many easy shots down low to Lauren Betts all day long. And I'm sure Nikki Collins' staff are having a good game plan in order to try to slow down this UCLA offense. You got to slow them down. And this would be huge for Baylor's NCAA tournament resume right here. It's not strict. I'm not even saying conference because this is a non-con game, and this is the last one for both of these teams, by the way, as we all know. By the way. Because if Baylor wants to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, a win like this could go a long way. And I know it's still early to talk about bracketology stuff, but if they get a win like this, that's going to boost their chances and get more quality wins. And I'm going to say this right now too, that Darrell Page Buggs does not need to get in foul trouble either. Same thing goes for Bella Fonroy. We need both on the floor. It's just telling the truth. And literally, UCLA played Wednesday. Baylor just played Friday. A little bit of rest advantage, but then they traveled a long way across when compared to Baylor. So it's still a long way, but it's not as long. I mean, and hopefully Bella Fournier has a better game than last game. And Aaron Vonleh, if she could have the repeat performance of last game, that would really help a lot. Or even that Utah game in the second half where after she got a third foul and she just took over the fourth quarter. I mean, when it took over the game, I mean, you gotta get her going. I mean, but Daryl Page Bugs needs to step up, whether it's like from mid range or rebounding defense. You get it. Jada Walker, she could score the ball, but she could also be a distributor weapon. I mean, and hopefully she does shoot the ball a little bit better. Same thing goes for Sarah Andrews, and she needs to step up too in this type of game. Yaya Felder is definitely first player off the bench. She needs to step up. And even like Kyla Abraham in her role slash Kayla Nelms, which she did pretty good last game. She did. And even the game before against Utah. And obviously, Madison Bartley gets to play. If she is available, she needs to step up and do her role. But it's a TBD on her, as we all know. Same thing goes for like Wise Jennings for her role. And Aaliyah Madara, I can't leave her out because she's ahead of Wise Jennings, in my opinion, in terms of the rotation. And she definitely needs to step up. If she could play like she did last game or even the Arizona State game, that really be helpful. So, and obviously you want to limit the second chance points for UCLA offensively while getting some second chance points on offense here. Win or lose, we're going to learn a lot and help our to prepare ourselves for the NCAA tournament down the line, and for the rest of the conference slate too. I mean, that's just telling the truth. And it would really be helpful if you could start fast in this type of game here, both offensively and defensively. And obviously, you need to make adjustments throughout the quarters. Stay resilient whenever you're down, or it's like, oh, they got the momentum now. Try to take it back, or keep chipping away into the lead. I mean, fight back. I'm not saying like physically fighting. I'm talking about mentally. As a team, fight back. Don't back down. I mean, it's just the way it is. And you gotta stay poised too. So, like especially if you're like in a tie ball game, you could tie it up or take the lead. And you gotta communicate well defensively. You got to in this type of game. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens here. So enough about talking about this game. This is a neat opportunity for both of these teams to play in the Coretta Scott King Classic. It is on Martin Luther King Day. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 7 subscribers. Course ultimate goal is 1,000 more some money after this course like video. Comment video really helps YouTube algorithms so more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well so more people could watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button for the notification bell as well. And if you have a lead in this game, try to protect it as much as possible. That's all I'm saying right here.